In the age of wonder.
Welcome back into the Sean Shaw podcast. Oh yeah, we back again. Big Ush and the Cat Daddy. Cat Daddy, what's on your mind?
Cat Daddy coming at you from Ready for You University, talking about college football. This is going to be exciting. We saw some upsets this week.
Listen, let's start with the first game that we talked about last week. Iowa went out there to Maryland and stomped them. There was no upset here. Young Tua couldn't do it.
No, oh my goodness, there's no upset here. This game was out of hand in the first half. Iowa's defense goes on the road to Maryland, which has had a pretty good offense, and they made a statement. Iowa looks like legitimate playoff contenders. What I want to see is I want to see Michigan and their defense on a collision course with Iowa and their defense for the Big Ten championship.
All right, so BYU playing Utah State. BYU came to play.
They did. You know what we got in this game?
What we got?
We got my showcase player.
Ooh.
Tyler Algier had
I was the only person to guess.
22 rushing attempts, 208 yards, 3 touchdowns on the ground. Tyler Algier had 3 receptions for another 22 yards receiving. Tyler Algier single-handedly won this game for BYU, making a play whenever they needed it. And boy,
Nasty.
did they need it after they got down to like their third-string quarterback, right? Tyler Algier. You're probably wondering, why is he saying that name so much? Because it's the power of repetition. They use it in marketing all the time where they want you to remember something, whether it's a product, a service, a phone number, whatever it looks like. Tyler Algier, Tyler Algier, Tyler Algier. You're going to want to remember this name. Remember this one.
All right, so next we're going to the SEC. Your spotlight player. He didn't play bad. He just didn't do enough to even dent Bama.
Man, you know, before this game, Lane Kiffin says, "Get your popcorn ready." Well, Lane, my popcorn's still ready. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with it yet.
You're
I'm
supposed
still
to enjoy Alabama.
Oh, well, clearly, yeah. Matt Corral didn't play the best game. He didn't play as well as I was hoping he would play in this stage, but it wasn't as if he played poorly. The entire Ole Miss team was outmatched by Alabama and their
Who's
defense. I mean, Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin's, you're going for it on 4th down 5 times in the first half. You only convert 2 of those, which means you're turning the ball over to Alabama 3 times in the first half, and you did it twice in your own territory. You're giving Alabama a short field, and they turned those 3 turnover rundowns into 21 points. So
That's what it is.
he played well considering it's against Alabama. The one bad play that sticks out to me is when it was late in the second quarter where he just held on to the ball too long. The pocket was
It's
collapsing,
Alabama.
and he was strip sacked after holding the ball too long. But outside of that, he was showing good decision making by throwing the ball away at other
He didn't
points.
throw 5 picks like he did last year.
He didn't. His receivers didn't help him by having several drops on the day. So would I like to have seen more out of Matt Corral? Yeah. Do I think this game hurts his draft stock? For me, I don't think it hurts him. It wasn't as if
didn't make him it didn't make him QB1 like you thought it was going to.
I still have him as my QB1 for right now, but I would have liked to have seen him perform better and really use this as that statement game, because we saw the good arm, we saw improved decision making, and we saw the mobility. Those were all three traits that can make it viable at the next level.
Right. All right, next up, top 10 SEC. Not even a game. Georgia stomps Arkansas 37-0.
Oh man.
And the hilarious part about this is people are like, oh, JT Daniels can't go. Stetson Bennett, that's going to make a difference. Stetson Bennett didn't have to do nothing in this game. 7 for 11 for 72 yards. That they had more, I think two of the rushers might have had more rushing yards than he had passing yards. This is gross. Nasty.
Yeah.
Georgia, when they face Bama, and they will be facing Bama, oh, that's going to be a game.
This could be a really good game. I said last week that Arkansas has been one of the biggest surprises of the season, and unfortunately their stay in the top 10 is going to be brief. And it was, because they hurt themselves this game. Georgia's defense is one of the best in the country, but Arkansas did themselves no favors by playing with a lack of discipline, preventing them from gaining any momentum during the earlier parts of this game. Because you're thinking, Georgia's opening drive, you committed a defensive pass interference. You gave Georgia extra yards for free. Arkansas's opening drive, they had back-to-back false starts, which forces them to start 1st and 20 instead of your 1st and 10. And once Georgia got up, they got up early, and it was done. If you have to score points against this Georgia team, and the bad thing is they don't give up a lot of points. The defense has only allowed 16 points the entire season. They've had shutouts the past 2 weeks, and they really should be credited with a third shutout this year, because when they played UAB only scored their points because they had a pick 6. So it wasn't as if the defense had given up that touchdown. Technically, the offense had given up that touchdown. But, yeah, that Georgia defense, man.
Another game in that ire. Some people thought, oh, maybe Indiana has a chance to beat Penn State. Again, another goose egg. Penn State 24-0. Indiana went into Happy Valley and got their butts kicked.
They did. It wasn't so happy for them.
All right, next up, we do have an upset. So those Oregon Ducks, your Oregon Ducks, went out to Stanford. Went out to Berkeley out there. Thought they was going to do a little something. Not Berkeley. I'm sorry, Stanford. I'm nonsense. Cal is Berkeley. Went out to Stanford and got beat 31-24. What happened here, Sean?
The offense couldn't get going. The offense had a hard time putting together a solid drive, putting points on the board. The defense surprisingly had a hard time against Stanford. So is Stanford better than we thought they were? Are they more improved than what we give them credit for? They forced overtime. Kayvon Thibodeau didn't help things with a penalty late in the game, which could be argued wasn't avoidable. Hey,
we'll see.
Yeah, but things like that just didn't help them. They had a hard time getting momentum. Oh, man, I'm disappointed with my Ducks.
All right, next up, almost an upset. Kansas State came so close to beating Oklahoma. These Sooners, I don't think they should be the number 6 team in the nation. Just my thoughts.
Why was Spencer Rattler so good last year? He was hitting the deep passes. This year, not so much. Even with this being his best game of the year, and I'm using that term loosely, he still wasn't what we had expected to see out of Spencer Rattler, potential number 1 draft pick. preseason Heisman favorites.
Has some of the luster of Lincoln Riley rubbed off?
I don't know if it's Lincoln or if I don't know if it's Rattler himself.
But Lincoln's supposed to be this genius that was supposed to make Spencer Rattler something amazing, like he's done all these other quarterbacks. All I'm saying is, like, Lincoln Riley has never actually developed a quarterback. He's taken somebody else's and
Baker, Jalen,
done
Kyler,
something on top of that.
Maybe we'll see how the rest of the season goes. But what do we see from Spencer Rattler in this game? We saw when he was attempting a deep pass, he underthrew it, resulting in an interception. He didn't complete any
Which is
passes
weird
of more.
considering his arm.
Exactly. We didn't see any completions where the ball traveled 20 yards or more. I mean, anything less than 20 yards, he's been lights out with. He was really good with this game. But that deep ball, I don't know if it's the accuracy. Could you argue that maybe NIL is changing things and it's taking away the focus? Maybe. But one thing I know for certain is that Oklahoma defense is playoff caliber, and it's helping this team stay afloat, but that offense can't keep up. And they need to change that quickly before they lose their shot at the playoffs, because right now I think they're ranked way too high.
All right, next up is a game that I don't even know how. It's weird because it's an upset, but it's an upset of a higher ranked team. Cincinnati goes to South Bend and they beat Notre Dame. On top of that, this is a game that has both my spotlight and my showcase players. So Desmond Ridder was my spotlight player, and he showed up. He did show out for 297 yards and 2 touchdowns. And I mean, this game was not as close as they made it seem. My showcase player is Myjai Sanders. He showed up finally. This game, he harassed the quarterback for Notre Dame, Cohen, I think his name is, all game long. Yeah. All game long. Notre Dame didn't have a chance in this game.
Yeah, I think the only reason that this is considered an upset is because they're playing in South Bend. They're playing at Notre Dame. And I think for some reason that would give them, the lower ranked team, an advantage. I'm not sure how or why.
And since he's not a Power 5 team.
Yeah, precisely. But what have we seen from Notre Dame this year? We've seen the defense play really well. We've seen the offense play pretty mediocre.
That's great.
I didn't think that this was Desmond Ridder's best game, but what he showed me for this game, he showed up. He showed me he was a competitor, and he showed me that he was a leader. And that was good to see. Now, this is Cincinnati's signature win of the season, and it gets them up to number 5 in the rankings. Yeah, they got up to number 5. And you hear people talking about Cincinnati has a clear path to the football playoff.
Not necessarily.
But realistically, what is Cincinnati's ceiling? Because they defeated Notre Dame in South Bend, but you could argue that Notre Dame was not really worthy of that number 9 rank with how they had played during the season. The conference that Cincinnati plays in, the AAC, isn't that strong.
And
it's
Indiana,
a group of 5.
Other big win.
They
struggled.
They played 2 other non-conference games, and they were against Miami of Ohio, which is a MAC school, and they played an Indiana team, which is now 2-3. But the only wins that Indiana has this year is against Idaho and Western Kentucky.
Yeah.
But
so we'll see.
One thing is for certain, that Cincinnati cannot afford any slip-ups or missteps. They need to win out, and they need to do so in a very, very convincing manner. Because
I think it would be great for Ridder to be in the college football playoff in terms of his stock.
I think it would be. But you cannot afford any upsets, because one loss is going to take them out of the playoff race. And you can't have any close games. Like, you have to win the rest of your games by blowouts, because I think the only ranked team, or the only good team, is going to be left on our schedule is SMU. And
All
that
right.
game's at the end of the season, and it's going to matter. So Cincinnati has to win out convincingly.
Moving on to the next one, which is an upset. We got Kentucky. We got Florida going to Kentucky. And Kentucky beat down the Florida Gators. I'm not going to say truly beat down. They beat them by 7, but still. Kentucky just beat the Gators. What just happened?
I have to go back and listen to who I picked. I fear I may have picked Florida when I should have picked
I
Kentucky.
know I picked Kentucky.
This was Kaiir Elam's second consecutive game that he missed with a knee injury. And I'm thinking, could this have been a difference maker? Because you're thinking Kentucky's quarterback, Will Levis, was 7 of 17 for 87 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He threw 87 yards the entire game against that Florida defense. Now, 65 of those yards went to Kentucky's number 1 wide receiver, Wan'Dale Robinson. And that's likely the wide receiver that Kaiir Elam would have been going against this whole game. So if Kaiir can lock him down for most of the game, you gotta think
Shoulda,
Florida's
woulda,
got
coulda.
legit. Exactly.
All right, next up, there was a potential. No, this was never going to be an upset. But Michigan stomps Wisconsin. Is this Michigan's year?
If it's not this year, I don't know when it is. This Wisconsin offense had problems over the weekend, lots of them, and one of them was named Aiden Hutchinson. Now, I mean, as much as Wisconsin's offensive line tried to game plan against Hutchinson, he still impacted the game. You can roll the pocket away from him. You can double team him. You were able to stop him from recording a single sack in this game, which is great. But guess what? You can make the argument that Aiden Hutchinson's play led to Michigan's 6 sacks.
You could.
Because you're putting all that effort into one guy. You're bear hugging him. You're throwing him to the ground. You're doing whatever you can. And it just makes me like Aiden Hutchinson more and more as the season progresses.
All right, up next, this was an upset. I don't know why it's an upset, because I think the other team is vastly overrated. Michigan State goes to Texas and beats A&M. What do you think here, Sean? Is A&M overrated, or is this a legit win for Mississippi State?
Wait, you say Mississippi or Michigan? Sorry.
Mississippi State beating A&M.
I had very high expectations for A&M when the season began. We talked about, at least I had
a lot of draftable
several people on my top 5, depending on the positions. I had a lot of people. The season was looking big, but when you have an injury to your starting quarterback, Haynes King, that pretty much derailed their entire season. So am I surprised that Mississippi State had this victory? No. Am I surprised that Texas A&M, Jimbo Fisher, has not been able to find a way to win some of these games with all the talent that he has? That part is surprising. I mean, I picked Texas A&M to win this game, and they proved me wrong, which is cool. I'll take some losses once in a while, but man, high expectations just not being lived up to.
All right, next up, we have a really weird upset. Hawaii upset Fresno State. Hawaii.
Yeah, well, I believe, I don't know how much of it, but I believe Fresno State's quarterback was injured for part of that game. He was out.
He still threw for 388 yards.
I know. I was surprised by that one. I was definitely going with the Bulldogs over the Rainbow Warriors. Yeah.
All right. Moving on from that one. Big 12 matchup. Oklahoma State and Baylor. Baylor going to Oklahoma State. And Oklahoma State beat those Bears 24-14.
I got nothing for this game. I got nothing.
I mean, I guess that Oklahoma State was going to continue to win here. We'll see if there's anything going on next week for them. But the next upset, UCLA got smashed by Arizona State coming into UCLA. What happened here?
Herm Edwards getting the victory over Chip Kelly. Man, it's Herm Edwards. He's doing good things. He's
Jaden Daniels.
yeah. I'm a little bit surprised, but in a good way. He's taking care of the football. Arizona State's playing pretty well. They're playing, I think, a little bit more conservative on offense. So,
All right. Next one I'm gonna bring up. This one I just found annoying personally. Auburn goes to Baton Rouge and beats LSU. And I'm gonna be
yes,
honest with
your boy Bo Nix.
Bo Nix is probably the most annoying player in college football. I would be annoyed to all anything if I was a defensive lineman. Like, none of that should work. None of what he did should work. That was nonsense the whole game.
Oh, that touchdown was a thing of beauty.
Nonsense. Complete nonsense. Off of that one, the last game could have been an upset, especially if they had their starting QB. But Clemson beats Boston College 19-13. Clemson is so vulnerable right now. It's not funny.
I said last week, if Boston College quarterback Phil Yurkovich had been playing, Boston College would have won this game. How Clemson survived, it's all their defense. The offense looked like they were getting going. I think we saw more from their offense than we did the previous couple of weeks. But that defense is really what's keeping them afloat.
All right. Next up, next week, I like to cherry pick the games. Starting with possible upset. Stanford off a big win. Going into Sun Devil Stadium to face those Arizona State Sun Devils. Who you got?
I wanted the Ducks last week. Stanford found a way, but they're playing at Stanford.
Right.
I want to go with Arizona State, but Stanford always finds a way to hang around.
I'm going Arizona State. I don't know. I think this one's different.
I'll go Stanford.
All right. Next up, we have the Red River Rivalry. I don't know if they call it that still, but I'm calling it. Oklahoma going to Texas. Who you got?
Red River Showdown, I think is what it's called now.
Nonsense.
I know. Spencer Rattler's coming off his best performance of the season. That defense is legit. But I'm going to live dangerously. I'm going to go with Texas.
Oh, yeah.
Bijan Robinson. That's what I want to see.
I'm going Texas here. I can't roll with Oklahoma. I think they're way overrated. Next up, this one's only here because I need to use it as a measuring stick. Ohio State has seemingly bounced back from that Oregon loss, but they got Maryland coming into their town. Iowa went to Maryland and beat down Maryland at home. Ohio State needs to beat Maryland down coming to the Horseshoe. Do you disagree?
Not at all. This is a must-win game for Ohio State if they want any chance at a conference championship playoffs.
More than a must-win. They need to win convincingly.
Yeah, but this Maryland team is no joke. You're really hoping that C.J. Stroud and the Ohio State offense has gotten its act together and they're going to right that ship. You're really hoping that's what the last game it just served. But, yeah.
In that same right, Ohio State beat down Rutgers. Michigan State is going to New Jersey but they still need to beat down Rutgers if they want to think that they have a chance at that Big Ten title and maybe even the playoff, because Michigan State's hanging around.
They are. Rutgers has just lost to Ohio State. They just lost to Michigan. And now they're going to lose to Michigan State.
But Michigan State has to do it convincingly again. All right, big SEC challenge here. Two teams, something's got to give. Arkansas going to Mississippi to face Ole Miss. Who you got in this one?
Man, considering these two teams lost to Georgia and Alabama, respectively, last week, like this almost feels like a consolation game. But last year, Matt Corral throws 6 interceptions against Arkansas when they face one another. But that number is going to be significantly less this year. I'm riding the Matt Corral train, going Ole Miss.
I'm going Ole Miss also. I think Matt Corral is significantly improved. Next up, is there any chance that apparently my boy, even though I'm not claiming him, Bo Nix has against Georgia? I say no.
You know, in Avengers Endgame, where Doctor Strange is like, this is that one chance. It's not that for Auburn, though. They got like one chance in some alternate universe, but it's not this one. Georgia's going to win.
No, Thanos is just going to rain fire.
Your boy Bo Nix won't be able to get off those miracle throws this week. He's not going to have time.
All right. I'm going to save that one. Let's see. All right, Notre Dame. Another upset alert for Notre Dame. We got VTech. VTech going to take down Notre Dame, or is Notre Dame going to bounce back?
We know.
Going to Virginia. Yeah. And her Sandman going to be hidden.
We know what Notre Dame's defense can bring. It's the offense that's the question. In order for... What's that?
Playing in Virginia ain't no joke, man.
I know. But in order for Cincinnati's resume to get a bigger boost, they need Notre Dame to keep on winning, because then it makes their win look even more impressive.
Yeah.
So I want to help Cincinnati get to the playoffs as a Group of 5 team. So do whatever I can, speed into existence. Notre Dame's getting back on track.
I think this is going to be a tough game.
Oh, yeah.
I'm taking Irish just because I think they will bounce back in this one, but I think this is going to be a real tough game.
Agreed.
I have them losing to a team later on, actually. But next up, the big game of the week, in my opinion. We have the number 4 Penn State Nittany Lions going to Iowa City to face those Iowa Hawkeyes. Who you got in this one, Sean? My showcase player. My spotlight player is in this one. Jaquan Brisker. I think he's going to have to come up big if Penn State is going to have a hope to beat these Hawkeyes.
I agree.
What do you think?
I agree with that. And this game right here is not a game that I want to see in October. This is a game I want to see in December or January.
Ain't no joke, yeah.
With the magnitude and everything that's on the line, because you're thinking, here, you're about to crush someone's dreams this season. One of these teams, because they're ranked 3 and 4.
Yeah.
One of them's going to stay 3
You know
or
who's
4.
going to be watching this game closely?
Every scout in the country.
Well, that too, but there's a certain team that'll be watching this. Cincinnati Bearcats.
Oh yeah, because that could create their opening into the top 4 if when one of these teams fall up. Because college doesn't have a tie; you keep playing until someone scores a winning point.
Exactly.
Which is how much I love college
and if
football.
Oklahoma loses like we think, Oklahoma can't jump them or anything like that.
But before I pick my winner here, I want to note that my spotlight player for the week is also in this game. He plays on Penn State, but he's on the offensive side of the ball. I've got wide receiver Jahan Dotson, and I'm really looking forward to this matchup because last week, Iowa just erased any offensive threat that Maryland had. Straight up erased them. And this is a game that I'm going to be watching closely. Scouts will be watching closely. Now, I'm going to give my prediction for this game, but realistically, I don't care who wins this game. I just want this to be a thrilling, dramatic game because that's what we deserve when we see the number 3 and number 4 teams in the country go against each other.
I'm going to be honest with you. The over-under is 40.5. I don't think it hits that.
I hope it's over.
I don't think it goes over.
But the defenses for both teams are solid.
I think this is going to be like one of those 21-14 type games.
I could see that, but I want it to be thrilling. I don't want it to be a blowout. Some teams playing catch up and they're making the score look closer than it really is.
It's going to come down to the last play, but it's going to be a defensive struggle. It may not be Alabama LSU from a few years back where it was like, what was it, 9-3 or something like that. This one, I'm telling you, I think it's going to come down to like the last possession, and it's going to be 21-14. That's my guess.
You're guessing the score too. All right, my spotlight players from Penn State, but I am picking Iowa to win this game.
Let's see. I think Iowa rolls. I do. Penn State had trouble with Wisconsin. I know they've done a lot better since then, but Iowa has been steadfast from the beginning of the year, and they keep getting better.
Yeah,
and
they do.
We're going to have a collision because the number 7 team overall in the nation is who? Those are Ohio State Buckeyes. And I honestly think Michigan later on this year when they play those Buckeyes is going to have a big heartbreak. And it's going to be the Buckeyes versus the Hawkeyes in the Big Ten championship for who will be in the playoff. That's my prediction right now.
All right.
All right, that's all we wrote for this episode. Words of wisdom, Sean.
Ooh. You're going to hear there's a lot of draft prospects to watch this week, evening games that we didn't talk about. You're going to have draft prospects to keep an eye on. So keep an eye on those games. Keep watching and listening to us so we can tell you what names to look out for. That's the best advice I can give right now.
So a big part of college football is, if you're watching, if you're the spectator, is to do with the food. If you're cooking up, if you're grilling, no matter what you're doing, don't burn your food. It ruins the flavor.